Welcome to the D-Sport 2009 Honda S2000 Challenge. Now with the S2000 ceasing production this year, we decided it was a good time to take a closer look at the performance potential of one of the most popular rear-wheel drive platforms on the market. Now the chassis barely changed in 10 years, which means you can pick up a used example for a very cheap price. And the money that you saved on a new car can go towards tweaking an S2000 to perform even better than a car worth twice as much brand new. Now its popularity and time on the market means there is a whole heap of aftermarket support. So much in fact, we decided to take a closer look at exactly what you can do. So, the S2000 Challenge was born. With a few tweaks to the suspension and brakes, the S2000 can be transformed from a great daily driver to a weekend warrior ready for the track. Since building a high-powered, naturally aspirated engine is expensive and impractical for the street, forced induction is the best way to go. A high-quality bolt-on turbo or supercharger system allows the VTEC 4-cylinder to deliver significantly more power and torque. With a number of quality forced induction solutions available, we gathered some of the best and put them head-to-head in our D-Sport S2000 Challenge. We've got cars from Greddy, Vortec, Science of Speed, Ultimate Racing and Craftworks. All of the cars were 2004 to 2006 AP2 versions featuring the F22C 2.2-litre engine. To evaluate the systems, we took each vehicle to MD Automotive's DynoJet 248 chassis dyno and our local smog station for power and emission levels. Once this testing was completed, we readied the vehicles for their showdown on the streets of Willow, where professional driver Robbie Montanola would put each S2000 through its paces. We needed to level the playing field amongst all of the vehicles so that only the power delivery of the forced induction system would impact lap times. Each vehicle was identically prepped with the same coilover suspension, rotors, pads, wheels and tyres and oil. We selected BC Racing Suspension height adjustable coilovers. These coilovers allow height adjustability to properly corner balance the vehicle, while 30-way adjustable dampers allow compression and rebound to be optimised for different road conditions. To be sure all vehicles would have the same speed shedding capabilities, we selected a responsive, efficient and affordable solution. EBC Brakes slotted performance rotors were teamed with yellow stuff brake pads. This duo was topped off with EBC Brakes .4 racing brake fluid to ensure the hydraulics were up to spec. The yellow stuff pads provide a higher coefficient of friction for increased stopping power. More importantly, the yellow stuff pads can survive at higher brake temperatures, reducing the likelihood of brake fade. Each car was fitted with a Royal Purple Performance oil filter, as well as 5W30 XPR Extreme Performance and Racing motor oil. The gearbox received XPR 5W30 oil, while the differential was helped out with Royal Purple Max Gear 75W90 gear oil. All of the cars were also placed on the same rolling stock. Rotor provided us with their lightweight 17x8-inch one-piece boost wheels. These wheels are value-priced, relatively lightweight and provide the right racing look. Nitto Tyres provided its new summer ultra-high-performance tyre, the NT05. This tyre was designed with enthusiasts and track days in mind. It meets the street class specifications for time attack and provides exceptional levels of grip and control thanks to a very stiff sidewall and tread block design. We fitted 235/4017s at all four corners to provide a more natural handling condition than the factory staggered setup. Our final step to maintain parity was to be sure that the suspension and alignment setup was identical. We called in suspension and race car preparation expert Robert Fuller, the owner of RobiSpec, to corner balance and laser align each vehicle. Robert came down to WRX and Evo specialist HB Speed's workshop to perform all of the work. Robert first set the ride height and corner balanced each car using the Intercomp electronic scales. The wireless 4-pad system allows precise measurements of weight so that it can be perfectly corner balanced. We also compared the weights of each car to make sure all of the competitors stuck to the rules. So that we could compare all of the forced induction kit cars against a stock S2000, not only did we get a brand new 2009 S2000 from Honda, but we also fitted a stock 2005 S2000 with all of the same support gear. In this way, we could measure how much of the increased performance came from the forced induction kit and how much came from the suspension and brake upgrades. Then it was time to turn some RPM, so we headed off to MD Automotive to strap each S2000 to the DynoJet chassis dyno. First up, we ran the stock S2000s to set a baseline figure. We then ran all of the competitors' cars. To get the complete rundown on each forced induction kit, read the S2000 Challenge article in the September issue of D-Sport magazine. At the end of the dyno challenge, this is how the standings looked. Now it was off to the track to see if the extra power could be put to good use. Streets of Willow was to be the S2000 Challenge proving ground, where each car would be evaluated by a professional driver.
Hi, I'm Robbie Montanola from San Francisco, California. I'm the driver for the D-Sport S2000 Challenge. I started racing back in the year 2000 with the Skip Barber 3-day racing school, quickly moved into the Skip Barber Western Championship and National Championships, and won the Skip Barber Western Championship in 2002. I was a scholarship driver in the Barber Dodge Pro Series and raced mainly open wheel Formula cars for the past 9 years.
Like on the dyno, we first needed a baseline figure.
Oh yeah, the S2000 is a great car, well balanced, very fun to drive even in stock form, so this gives us a good baseline for what we're going to do here today. The car has a lot of potential, so we'll see what these other guys got and go from there. Next,
we needed to see what difference the suspension, rolling stock and brake upgrades made.
This car is so much different than the stock car where, I wanted to get some extra laps in here without the extra horsepower so that I can get a good feel of what the car's going to do. So what we have here in the silver car, the silver S2000, is a package that we have on every other car. We have an upgraded BC coilover system, the wheel tire combination on the car with the Roto wheels and the Nitto tires. That gives us better overall grip around the entire racetrack so we can have higher minimum speeds. The brake pads and the brake fluid gives us more consistency around the racetrack. I can do more laps, hard laps where we're using the brakes, and it's not going to fade, it's not going to go away with you. When a stock car, the brake fluid starts to boil with the tires themselves, having higher grip level, they last longer. They won't shred or delaminate or anything like that, because since we're pushing them so hard, they're withstanding the temperatures, the hot temperatures here at Willow Springs.
Then it was time to see what difference forced induction makes to the S2000. First up, the Vortec-powered car.
Overall, I felt that the power band was pretty usable. I mean, you don't want too much mid-range power because then you start spinning tire at the apex and you don't really want to do that. With this supercharger, at least you have time to smoothly apply throttle. Otherwise, if you do that in another type of supercharger, the car would already just break loose and then you wouldn't be able to use that power. Here with the centrifugal, you can get on the throttle, be a little more aggressive with it. The supercharger starts to spool up, and as soon as you get in a straight line and you're full throttle, then that's where it really comes to life and gives you the most power. It felt more tame out there. I mean, it was much more manageable. The Supercharger kit had a little maybe too much power right when you touch the throttle. With this one, you can actually be a little more aggressive with the throttle pedal, and the car would be able to do what you want it to do. Where this is definitely more manageable, more for the person that, you know, just to slowly build themselves up on the racetrack. So, you know, it's got some good power still down the straightaway, enough for the setup we're using here with this tire and this wheel and this brake pad. If you were to drive this just like it is, was probably the better choice for most consumers. This car didn't have the gobs of instant on power as the Vortec did, which was good because it's more usable and more drivable, but felt very much like a turbocharged car as well. So overall, the car felt very, very similar to the turbo and the Vortec supercharged car. So it was kind of right in the middle, and actually this kit would probably, you know, along with that the turbo kit that we just drove, would work well for the, you know, the day-to-day consumer. This probably doesn't have as much top-end power as the other Supercharger kit or the Turbocharger kit had, but it definitely had that mid-range power, the power that you actually need. It's not as drastic as the Vortec kit where you touch the gas pedal and the tires want to just ready to break loose. This one actually is very manageable, very drivable, great for the racetrack. It was a lot of fun. This car and the black turbocharged car were probably the easiest to drive in terms of the power band. Where this car is very predictable, you were able to get power down, power out of the corners, and it felt really, really good.
As you can see from the lap times, there was less than 1.5 seconds separating the competitors.
The setup of the car's alignment, you know, corner balance and everything like that is identical as you could probably get them. And every car drove very, very, very similar. By equalizing the playing field, giving everybody the same basic parts, and then just, you know, having different forced induction kits definitely allows us to show the potential and the differences between each kit. The S2000 that we drove today with the forced induction kits, that was the most drivable especially for a beginner intermediate driver, would probably have to be the Ultimate Racing turbocharged car and the Science of Speed supercharged car, just because the drivability of the car is much more easier to maintain and drive around a racetrack. And I haven't seen the dyno sheet, so I don't know what the dyno numbers are for any of these cars, but definitely the Vortec car felt like seat of the pants. It felt the fastest. The Ultimate car felt like it had a good top end. The Craftworks car also had very good power. You know, and the car that surprised me, which I've been told has probably the most horsepower, the Science of Speed car, didn't feel like it was the fastest seat of the pants feel, but you could definitely it was still getting into 5th gear. It was much more manageable, and that's why I liked it for drivability. If I were to pick a car, I'd probably pick the Science of Speed car or the Craftworks car, just in terms of, you know, the raw potential that they have and the drivability that they have. We got to see the potential of a lot of different forced induction kits for the S2000, and hopefully, you know, consumers can go out, make a good choice, and just, you know, they have to keep in mind what their overall goal is.
One car missing from the original test was the Greddy turbo-equipped S2000. During its original dyno session, the vehicle encountered some gremlins that resulted in some misfires and a low power output. Instead of risking any failures, we delivered the car to Greddy for troubleshooting. After 3 days of pulling hair, it appeared that the culprit was a tank of bad gas. Greddy was able to get the car running right, and we had an opportunity to hit the streets of Willow to get performance figures. We also made it back to the same dyno to get the power figures for comparison.
Well, the Greddy S2000 is equipped with a turbocharger kit. It's a smaller turbo, not as big as the Ultimate Racing turbo that we've tested in the other S2000. So therefore, it just doesn't have the top end power that the Ultimate Racing one had. It actually is very drivable. I mean, you can play with the throttle. It's, you know, since it's not such a significant jump in horsepower, the throttle response is ideal for road circuit racing. Whereas some of the supercharged cars that we drove, like the Vortec car, the Craftworks car, you know, very light throttle movements would jump the horsepower up so high that you get too much wheel spin. It doesn't produce the power that some of the other kits have put out, but it's very drivable. I mean, you could easily bump up the boost and build the motor and you know, run the same horsepower as the other guys, but for the average consumer that's just coming out to do a track day, wants a little bit more oomph out of their S2000, I think the Greddy kit actually works pretty well.
For more information on all of the S2000 forced induction kits, you can find the article in the September 2009 issue of D-Sport magazine. Stay tuned for more challenges just like this one in the future on D-Sport DVD.